They say you never really know the person you're dating. You can spend months together, share meals, share laughter, even share secrets, and still, you'll only ever see the mask they choose to wear. When I met Sarah, I thought I'd finally found someone who understood me. She was kind, funny in a strange way, and curious about everything. But over time, her curiosity became something else, something darker. I didn't realize it then, but every conversation, every photograph, every night we spent together was leading toward one final moment. A moment she'd been planning since the day we met. This is the story of how I fell in love with someone who was never really alive the way I was, and of what she took from me before she disappeared. I've spent months trying to convince myself that none of it was real, that what happened to me was just some bizarre misunderstanding. But every night when I close my eyes, I still see her standing there in the doorway, the fluorescent light trembling behind her, her face calm in a way that no human face should ever be. Her name was Sarah. At least that's what she told me. When we first met, she seemed ordinary awkward even. The kind of woman who over-explained her jokes, smiled too quickly, apologized too much. I liked her for that. After years of failed dates and shallow small talk, meeting someone so apparently genuine felt refreshing. She worked in healthcare, she said. Night shifts, long hours. She joked about being used to the dead look on people's faces after midnight. At the time, I thought it was just gallows humor. The first few weeks were normal. Dinner, coffee, wandering the city together, while she asked strange little questions like, do you believe the body remembers pain after death? Things that sounded philosophical in the moment. Looking back, they were warnings. I just didn't recognize them. Sarah wasn't shy about affection, but she had rules. She liked to hold hands only when our palms were cold. She said it made her feel closer to the pulse. She never wanted me to kiss her for too long either. Breath is private, she'd say, smiling, like it was a secret joke I wasn't supposed to get. Still, I ignored it. Everyone has quirks. Then came the photos. It started innocently. Send me a picture so I can see your smile before bed. But then she started specifying things. Full body. Stand straight, arms at your sides. Lie down on the floor, eyes closed. She said she liked the symmetry, the way the body looked when it was completely relaxed. I laughed, told her it was weird, but I sent them anyway. I was flattered by her interest, and I told myself she was just artsy. She always replied immediately, sometimes within seconds, with a heart emoji or a single word, perfect. Sometimes she'd ask for more. Turn your head to the right. Try not to smile this time. Hold your breath for as long as you can before you take the picture. When I asked why, she just said, you look more peaceful that way. The strangest part was that she never wanted me to see her pictures right away. She said she was shy in person, confident online. That sounded like a contradiction, but her voice had a softness that made it believable. Besides, I was lonely, and loneliness is an expert liar. It tells you that attention is affection, that curiosity is care. Our relationship became a rhythm, late-night texts, strange requests, dinners that never ended in intimacy. And yet, every time she touched me, there was this hunger in her hands, as if she wasn't caressing me, but studying me. Once when I kissed her neck, she laughed nervously and whispered, "Not there, not yet." Yet I asked. She didn't answer. The first truly alarming night happened after I sent her another of those photos. Me lying on the kitchen floor, eyes closed, pretending to be asleep. An hour later, she appeared at my door soaked from the rain, smelling faintly of alcohol and something chemical like antiseptic. She didn't speak. She just pushed her way inside, pressed me back onto the couch, and kissed me with a kind of desperate precision, as though she was performing a procedure she'd practiced for years. Her lips were cold, her hands colder. And yet I didn't stop her. She asked me to lie on the floor again. I did. Then she looked down at me and said softly, "Can you hold your breath for me?" Something in her tone made it sound like a test. I tried not wanting to ruin the moment. She watched me intently, her pupils wide, her breathing shallow. When I finally exhaled, gasping, she smiled, not warmly, but almost satisfied. Then she left, just like that. No explanation, no goodnight. I should have ended things there, but I didn't. I told myself she was eccentric, maybe traumatized. Maybe she worked with terminal patients and had weird coping habits. You can rationalize anything if it means keeping someone close. After that night, her behavior shifted. She still texted me daily, but her messages became clipped. She called me my model. Sometimes she'd ask me to measure things: my height, the span of my arms, the length from my shoulder to my jaw. When I joked that she was planning to build a replica of me, she simply replied, "Wouldn't that be nice?" Winter came fast that year, and with it, the cold. Sarah loved it. She'd insist on going out onto my tiny balcony, wrapping herself in my jacket while I stood there shivering. She liked to press my freezing hands to her neck, her chest. "It's like you're giving me your heat," she said, once, eyes half closed. I didn't know how to respond, so I just smiled. One night, after nearly freezing outside, I stumbled back into the apartment dizzy from the sudden warmth. She followed me in and said, "Lie down. I have an idea." I was too tired to argue. She poured a small glass of red wine, warmed it between her palms, and handed it to me. "Take a sip," she said, "but don't swallow. Close your eyes." I did as she asked, though I felt ridiculous. Then she leaned down and kissed me hard. The wine spilled between us, bitter and metallic on my tongue. For a second it felt romantic. Then she pressed her hand against my chest, right below my ribs, and pushed. I choked. The wine burst from my mouth, splattering her cheek. She gasped, not in surprise, but fascination. I sat up coughing, angry, humiliated. "What the hell was that?" I demanded. Her expression shifted instantly. Nothing, she whispered, just something different. She looked genuinely remorseful, almost frightened by her own actions. I wanted to stay angry, but she seemed so small, then so lost that I let it go. Still, I didn't invite her to stay the night. For a while we didn't speak. I told myself it was over, that I dodged a bullet. But the mind has its own cruel inertia. It doesn't stop just because it should. I kept thinking about her, her voice, her questions, the way she'd looked at me when I was lying on the floor, breath held, eyes closed. It wasn't attraction anymore. It was something darker, curiosity mixed with dread. Weeks passed before she texted again. Her message was simple: "Let me make it up to you. Pick me up after work." Against my better judgment, I agreed. She was waiting outside a hospital complex, perched on the hood of her car, in a red dress that didn't fit the weather. The snow reflected the orange parking lights around her, and for a second, she looked unreal, like something half-painted. When I got out, she kissed me gently and whispered, "I've planned something special tonight. I want to show you where I work." I thought she meant the hospital. She didn't. She led me to a smaller brick building behind the main structure. Its windows blacked out, the door secured with a keypad she unlocked without hesitation. The smell hit me the moment we stepped inside disinfectant steel, and something faintly sweet like rot hidden beneath perfume. But I followed her anyway. The reception area was dim, a few chairs stacked against the wall, a single computer monitor casting pale light. She smiled over her shoulder. "Just wait here. I'll change into something more comfortable." Then she disappeared upstairs. I stood there, trying to steady my breathing. The air felt thick, heavy, with something unspoken. I should have left right then. But curiosity, stupid human curiosity, kept me there. When I finally noticed the half-open door near the corner, I told myself I'd just take a quick look. The chemical smell drifted from inside. I pushed the door wider and saw stairs leading down. The staircase was narrow. The steps, concrete, slick with something that smelled like bleach. I hesitated at the top, listening for Sarah's footsteps above me. There was nothing, just the steady hum of fluorescent lights somewhere below. I told myself I'd take a quick peek, maybe find some storage room or lab, and then go back upstairs before she noticed. Halfway down, the lights flicked on by motion sensor, buzzing to life, one row at a time. The room below was all white tile and stainless steel, clean in the way that feels wrong, too clean, too deliberate. 3 metal tables stood in the center drains underneath them. One of them wasn't empty. The shape beneath the sheet was unmistakably human. I froze. For a long time, I just stared at the exposed foot, a grayish-yellow color, the skin puckered like wax. A tag hung from the toe, rocking gently, as though it had just been moved. That was the moment my stomach turned. I realized where we were. It was a morgue, her workplace. The air was so cold it burned. I took one step closer, not because I wanted to, but because something in me demanded proof. The sheet was loose near the shoulder, and before I could stop myself, he reached out and pulled it back. The face underneath was bloated features distorted by time and temperature. Yet there was something familiar about it. Same hair color, same build, same faint scar along the chin. It looked, God help me, it looked like me. I stumbled backward, bile rising in my throat. That was impossible. A trick of the light, maybe. But the more I looked, the more I saw my own reflection in that still waxen face. And then I remembered the photographs, the poses, the way she'd made me lie on the floor, eyes closed, arms out, the way she'd pressed her hand against my chest, watching me stop breathing. She'd been rehearsing. I think I whispered something, maybe her name, but the word vanished in the cold air. That's when I heard the sound, soft footsteps above me, careful and measured. She was coming back. I panicked, spinning in place, desperate for anywhere to hide. There were no windows, no second door, only those steel drawers along the wall. The first one I pulled open was empty. I didn't think. I climbed in. The metal was freezing against my back. I pulled the drawer shut from the inside darkness, swallowing me whole. For a few seconds, there was only my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Then the footsteps reached the stairs. They came down slowly, each one deliberate, pausing now and then, as if she were listening. When she reached the bottom, I heard her whisper, "Michael." The sound of my name, in that low sing-song voice, sent a chill through me that no cold could match. She walked around the room, the click of her shoes echoing against tile. I heard her lift the sheet from the table, let it fall again. Then a hiss of frustration. The footsteps retreated. The door opened, then closed. Silence. I waited. Seconds felt like minutes. Finally, I pushed the drawer open and slipped out, every muscle screaming from the cold. I wanted to run, but the fear of making noise kept me slow. The stairs loomed ahead, and I climbed them one at a time, pausing after each creak. At the top, the reception area was dark, except for the occasional sweep of headlights passing by outside. I could hear her moving somewhere, another room maybe. Cabinet doors opening, closing. "Why are you doing this?" "Michael," she called softly. Her voice wasn't angry. It was hurt, as if I had betrayed her. I edged along the wall toward the exit. The front door was still locked keypad, glowing faintly red. No way I could open it without her hearing. So I went for the stairs that led upward to the second floor. Each step groaned loud enough that I cringed, but she didn't come. When I reached the landing, I saw 3 doors. 2 were closed. 1 was open. Light spilled out, muted and yellow. Inside the room was covered in plastic sheeting, floor to ceiling. A single table stood in the corner, laid out like an altar pill. Bottles, surgical tools, a hacksaw, a bottle of lotion. And taped to the far wall photos. Dozens of them. Every one of me. Some were from my phone. Others I had never taken. Different angles, different lighting shots that could only have come from outside my apartment through my windows. There was one of me sleeping. Another of me stepping out of the shower, my reflection caught in the mirror. She'd been watching me for months. I don't know how long I stood there before I noticed the window. It was large, low to the ground, half open. Freedom. I tore aside the plastic and started to climb out. The air outside was biting, but it smelled real. Then the door behind me creaked. I turned. Sarah stood in the doorway, framed by the yellow light. Her expression wasn't rage. It was disappointment, like a parent finding a child sneaking out. "It's not my fault," she murmured. There was no knife, no syringe, no sudden attack. Just those words, soft and final. I jumped. The fall was shorter than I expected, jarring but survivable. I hit the ground, hard-rolled, and ran until my lungs felt like they'd burst. I didn't look back. I didn't have to. I could feel her eyes on me the whole way. I made it to the main hospital building, breathless and bleeding from my palms. Security found me in the corridor, half incoherent. I told them everything: the morgue, the photographs, the corpse that looked like me. When the police investigated, they found nothing. The morgue was spotless. No photos, no plastic, no tools. Even the drawers were empty. Sarah told them I'd insisted on visiting her workplace, that I'd panicked after seeing a body. She had an answer for every question. And without evidence, what could they do? The detective pulled me aside, afterward told me quietly that maybe I should keep my distance. He said it like advice, but it felt like a warning. I moved apartments the next week, changed my number, deleted every dating profile I had. For a while, it worked. The nightmares dulled, replaced by a quiet numbness. But sometimes, late at night, I'd catch myself glancing at the floor, half expecting to see her there, kneeling beside me, studying the rise and fall of my chest. Old habits die hard. Months passed. I almost convinced myself it was over. Then one morning, I woke with a weight on my feet, something light, like fabric. Still half asleep, I kicked it away. But curiosity made me look. It was a small white tag, attached by a string. My name was written across it, in careful block letters. Below it, where the date of death should have been there, were only 2 words. In a few days. That was the last clear thing I remember before the panic set in. I tore through my apartment, searching every closet, every shadow. Nothing. No sign of her, no sign of anyone. But the tag was real. I still have it. I wish I didn't. Now I don't sleep much. I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I feel the cold press of metal beneath my back, the echo of a woman's voice asking me to hold my breath. And sometimes, when the night is perfectly still, I swear I hear a drawer slide open. I've told this story 100 times to police, to friends, to anyone who'd listen. And every time they tell me the same thing, it's over. She's gone. But when I wake in the dark and feel the cold breath of air at the foot of my bed, I know they're wrong. Sometimes, I think I hear her voice, whispering from the floorboards, asking me that same question again. Can you hold your breath for me? So if you ever meet someone who asks for your picture, lying down, eyes closed, arms to your side, don't send it, please. Because once she has it, she won't need you to breathe anymore.